Security hacker. A security hacker is someone who explores methods for breaching defenses and exploiting weaknesses in a computer system or network. Hackers may be motivated by a multitude of reasons, such as profit, protest, information gathering, challenge, recreation, or to evaluate system weaknesses to assist in formulating defenses against potential hackers. The subculture that has evolved around hackers is often referred to as the computer underground. Long-standing controversy surrounds the meaning of the term hacker. In this controversy, computer programmers reclaim the term hacker, arguing that it refers simply to someone with an advanced understanding of computers and computer networks, and that cracker is the more appropriate term for those who break into computers, whether computer criminals, black hats, or computer security experts, white hats. A 2014 article noted that the black hat meaning still prevails among the general public. History. In computer security, a hacker is someone who focuses on security mechanisms of computer and network systems. While including those who endeavor to strengthen such mechanisms, it is more often used by the mass media and popular culture to refer to those who seek access despite these security measures. That is, the media portrays the hacker as a villain. Nevertheless, parts of the subculture see their aim in correcting security problems and use the word in a positive sense. White hat is the name given to ethical computer hackers, who utilize hacking in a helpful way. White hats are becoming a necessary part of the information security field. They operate under a code, which acknowledges that breaking into other people's computers is bad, but that discovering and exploiting security mechanisms and breaking into computers is still an interesting activity that can be done ethically and legally. Accordingly, the term bears strong connotations that are favorable or pejorative, depending on the context. The subculture around such hackers is termed network hacker subculture, hacker scene, or computer underground. It initially developed in the context of phreaking during the 1960s and the microcomputer BBs scene of the 1980s. It is implicated with 2600, the Hacker Quarterly and the Alt.2600 newsgroup. In 1980, an article in the August issue of Psychology Today, with commentary by Philip Zimbardo, used the term hacker in its title, The Hacker Papers. It was an excerpt from a Stanford Bulletin Board discussion on the addictive nature of computer use. In the 1982 film Tron, Kevin Flynn, Jeff Bridges, describes his intentions to break into Encom's computer system, saying, "I've been doing a little hacking here." CLU is the software he uses for this. By 1983, hacking in the sense of breaking computer security had already been in use as computer jargon, but there was no public awareness about such activities. However, the release of the film War Games that year, featuring a computer intrusion into NORAD, raised the public belief that computer security hackers, especially teenagers, could be a threat to national security. This concern became real when, in the same year, a gang of teenage hackers in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, known as the 414s, broke into computer systems throughout the United States and Canada, including those of Los Alamos National Laboratory, Sloan Kettering Cancer Center and Security Pacific Bank. The case quickly grew media attention, and 17-year-old Neil Patrick emerged as the spokesman for the gang, including a cover story in Newsweek entitled "Beware, Hackers at Play," with Patrick's photograph on the cover. The Newsweek article appears to be the first use of the word hacker by the mainstream media in the pejorative sense. Pressured by media coverage, Congressman Dan Glickman called for an investigation and began work on new laws against computer hacking. Neil Patrick testified before the U.S. House of Representatives on September 26, 1983, about the dangers of computer hacking, and 6 bills concerning computer crime were introduced in the House that year. As a result of these laws against computer criminality, white hat, gray hat and black hat hackers try to distinguish themselves from each other, depending on the legality of their activities. These moral conflicts are expressed in the Mentor's The Hacker Manifesto, published 1986 in Frac. Use of the term hacker meaning computer criminal was also advanced by the title Stalking the Wily Hacker, an article by Clifford Stoll in the May 1988 issue of the Communications of the ACM. Later that year, the release by Robert Tappan Morris Jr. of the so-called Morris worm provoked the popular media to spread this usage. The popularity of Stoll's book The Cuckoo's Egg, published 1 year later, further entrenched the term in the public's consciousness. Classifications. Subgroups of the computer underground with different attitudes and motives use different terms to demarcate themselves from each other. These classifications are also used to exclude specific groups with whom they do not agree. Cracker. Eric S. Raymond, author of the New Hackers Dictionary, advocates that members of the computer underground should be called crackers. Yet, those people see themselves as hackers and even try to include the views of Raymond in what they see as a wider hacker culture, a view that Raymond has harshly rejected. Instead of a hacker/cracker dichotomy, they emphasize a spectrum of different categories, such as white hat, gray hat, black hat and script kiddie. In contrast to Raymond, they usually reserve the term cracker for more malicious activity. According to Ralph D. Clifford, a cracker or cracking is to gain unauthorized access to a computer in order to commit another crime such as destroying information contained in that system. These subgroups may also be defined by the legal status of their activities. White hat. A white hat hacker breaks security for non-malicious reasons, either to test their own security system, perform penetration tests, or vulnerability assessments for a client, or while working for a security company which makes security software. The term is generally synonymous with ethical hacker, and the EC Counsel, among others, have developed certifications, courseware, classes, and online training covering the diverse arena of ethical hacking. Black hat. A black hat hacker is a hacker who violates computer security for little reason beyond maliciousness or for personal gain. Moore, 2005. The term was coined by Richard Stallman, to contrast the maliciousness of a criminal hacker versus the spirit of playfulness and exploration in hacker culture, or the ethos of the white hat hacker who performs hacking duties to identify places to repair or as a means of legitimate employment. Black hat hackers form the stereotypical, illegal hacking groups often portrayed in popular culture, and are the epitome of all that the public fears in a computer criminal. Grey hat. A grey hat hacker lies between a black hat and a white hat hacker. A grey hat hacker may surf the internet and hack into a computer system for the sole purpose of notifying the administrator that their system has a security defect, for example. They may then offer to correct the defect for a fee. Grey hat hackers sometimes find the defect of a system and publish the facts to the world instead of a group of people. Even though grey hat hackers may not necessarily perform hacking for their personal gain, unauthorized access to a system can be considered illegal and unethical. Elite hacker. A social status among hackers, elite is used to describe the most skilled. Newly discovered exploits circulate among these hackers. Elite groups such as Masters of Deception conferred a kind of credibility on their members. Script kiddie. A script kiddie, also known as a skid or skiddy, is an unskilled hacker who breaks into computer systems by using automated tools written by others, usually by other black hat hackers, hence the term script, i.e. a computer script that automates the hacking. Kiddie, i.e. kid, child, an individual lacking knowledge and experience, immature, usually with little understanding of the underlying concept. Neophyte. A neophyte, newbie, or noob, is someone who is new to hacking or phreaking and has almost no knowledge or experience of the workings of technology and hacking. Blue hat. A blue hat hacker is someone outside computer security consulting firms who is used to bug test a system prior to its launch, looking for exploits so they can be closed. Microsoft also uses the term blue hat to represent a series of security briefing events. Hacktivist. A hacktivist is a hacker who utilizes technology to publicize a social, ideological, religious or political message. Hacktivism can be divided into two main groups. Nation-state. Intelligence agencies and cyber warfare operatives of nation-states. Organized criminal gangs. Groups of hackers that carry out organized criminal activities for profit. Attacks. Hackers can usually be sorted into two types of attacks: mass attacks and targeted attacks. They are sorted into the groups in terms of how they choose their victims and how they act on the attacks. A typical approach in an attack on internet-connected system is: in order to do so, there are several recurring tools of the trade and techniques used by computer criminals and security experts. Security exploits. A security exploit is a prepared application that takes advantage of a known weakness. Common examples of security exploits are SQL injection, cross-site scripting and cross-site request forgery, which abuse security holes that may result from substandard programming practice. Other exploits would be able to be used through File Transfer Protocol, FTP, Hypertext Transfer Protocol, HTTP, PHP, SSH, Telnet and some web pages. These are very common in website and web domain hacking. Techniques. Tools and procedures. Notable intruders and criminal hackers. Notable security hackers. Customs. The computer underground has produced its own specialized slang, such as 1337 speak. Its members often advocate freedom of information, strongly opposing the principles of copyright, as well as the rights of free speech and privacy. Writing software and performing other activities to support these views is referred to as hacktivism. Some consider illegal cracking ethically justified for these goals. A common form is website defacement. The computer underground is frequently compared to the Wild West. It is common for hackers to use aliases to conceal their identities. Hacker groups and conventions. The computer underground is supported by regular real-world gatherings called hacker conventions or hackercons. These events include SummerCon, Summer, DEF CON, HoHoCon, Christmas, ShmooCon, February, Black Hat, Chaos Communication Congress, EarthCon, Hacker Halted, and Hope. Local hackfist groups organize and compete to develop their skills to send a team to a prominent convention to compete in group pen testing, exploit and forensics on a larger scale. Hacker groups became popular in the early 1980s, providing access to hacking information and resources and a place to learn from other members. Computer bulletin board systems, BBSs, such as the Utopias, provided platforms for information sharing via dial-up modem. Hackers could also gain credibility by being affiliated with elite groups. Consequences for malicious hacking. India. Netherlands. Maximum imprisonment is 1 year or a fine of the 4th category. United States. 18 U.S.C. Section 1030, more commonly known as the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act, prohibits unauthorized access or damage of protected computers. Protected computers are defined in 18 U.S.C. Section 1030E, as the maximum imprisonment or fine for violations of the Computer Fraud and Abuse Act depends on the severity of the violation and the offender's history of violations under the Act. Hacking and the media. Hacker magazines. The most notable hacker-oriented print publications are Frack, Hack-In-9 and 2600, The Hacker Quarterly. While the information contained in hacker magazines and zines was often outdated by the time they were published, they enhanced their contributors' reputations by documenting their successes. Hackers in fiction. Hackers often show an interest in fictional cyberpunk and cyberculture literature and movies. The adoption of fictional pseudonyms, symbols, values and metaphors from these works is very common. Books. Films. Non-fiction books.